if you ask me what the secret of a good marriage is, treat each other like you're strangers. Do this and you will have the greatest marriage in the world. If you're hitting it off right, it becomes fun.
Did he see your fun side early on?
No, I wasn't so much fun then, okay?
No, you become more fun with time?
Absolutely. There's no way for me to go out and find a husband. There's no way for the boys to find a wife on their own. So we trust our parents.
Seems to me nerve-wracking for a parent to make decisions for their children.
We're not the big decision makers.
Your marriage was arranged, right?
No.
No?
No.
No?
No.
What happened?
We have arranged meetings, but not arranged marriages.
About 6 months ago, I introduced you all to Pearl, a proud and vibrant Hasidic Jewish matriarch, housewife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother of the Satmar Hasidic sect. What I thought at first was going to be a casual look at her Hasidic home turned into so much more as she brought us in not just into her home, but also into her entire world and her values, and I think in the process, she touched many hearts. And while there was a lot we talked about in that conversation, there was so much we hadn't discussed. And so I am so glad that Pearl agreed to speak with me again on some very big topics. And this conversation, I'm again breaking up in 2 parts. And today I present you with part 1, my discussion with Pearl on how marriages are arranged or not arranged in the Hasidic community. So much of Pearl's faith system was fascinating to me, but she wanted me to emphasize that she comes from the perspective not of a community authority, not of a sanctioned spokesperson, but rather a simple housewife, a layperson whose perspectives comes not only from someone who was raised in the community, but also who spent her entire life reading and teaching herself and continuing to learn and to grow. Pearl is a Satmar Hasidic woman who is a grandmother and a matriarch of a big family. And Pearl, help me out. How do we introduce you?
And I'm a great-grandmother.
And a great-grandmother. And a friend.
And a friend, yes.
Thank you. And she has been so generous as to agree to talk to me again about some big topics. We are going to talk today about arranged marriages, about modesty in women's clothing, and lastly, a topic that affects us both personally, leaving the faith, or as it's called, OTD, off the derech, or off the
path.
The pious path.
Frida, do you know that I'm also OTD?
You're also OTD?
I'm off the diet.
You're off the diet.
I'm on the derech and off the diet.
Well, it's Hanukkah right now, so we're all off the diet. So we're allowed to eat whatever we're eating. And Pearl has some really good keto diet cheesecake to get us. It's towards the end of the Hanukkah, starting to move back.
Right. So what's the first topic?
Well, first of all, you look very different from last time.
Right.
So how come you look very different?
Because last time we did the interview was Erev Shabbos, and I was dressed the way I'm dressed for Shabbos. I was dressed in my white turban and in my Shabbos robe.
Why?
That's the way I am dressed for Shabbos.
It's your elegant...
That's my elegant attire, yes, for Shabbos. Right.
Why white?
White for Shabbos. White is a very big... It's a very important color.
It's a color of purity.
It's not a lack of a color. It's a color.
It's a color.
Right? It's purity. It's... Yes, right. Mainly it's purity. I mean, the Kohen Gadol wore white.
The priest in the time of the temple.
The Beis Hamikdash. The men wear white Yom Kippur. The women try to wear something white or white clothing. The Seder, the men wear a kittel to the side. White is a color of purity, like you say, holiness.
Holiness, yeah.
I
mean, like dark black is the opposite.
I wouldn't say black is the opposite. No. But white specifically is a color of holiness.
So...
No color is bad. Hashem created them all.
Really?
So no color is considered... The only color that is considered like in women's attire is red, is because it's very, very eye-catching, very loud, very bold, very So we stay away from red clothing, but it's not that red is a bad color. We have the puro adimo, the red heifer.
Right, right, you're right. You're right. What do you think of my jacket though?
It's beautiful.
Yes. It's not only red.
No, it's not only red.
There you go.
I'm telling you again, there's nothing
No
that
co-
Hashem created is ever bad. There's no such thing.
I was
It's
gonna
just inappropriate in certain
inappropriate.
situations. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say black is in the secular world, black is associated with funerals.
Right,
But
right.
in Williamsburg, everyone's wearing black.
Mainly because it's a practical color to wear. It's not because this is a color that, and also it's not a color that attracts very much. So, you know, the men wear, of course, dark clothing, and the women also sort of wear not unattractive clothing, but we don't wear attracting clothing. That's why you'll see most of us in subdued colors, not loud colors, not colors that attract, are very eye-catching.
Let's talk about arranged marriages. Pearl, your marriage was arranged, right?
No,
No.
no,
No?
no,
Your children's marriage?
No.
No.
no,
No?
absolutely not.
What happened?
We have arranged meetings, but not arranged marriages. So
What's the
I
difference?
will explain to you. I'll tell you how I got engaged, how my daughters got engaged, and my sons, one son, the other son.
We'll talk about later.
I'll talk about how my grandchildren got engaged, okay? So I have to start with this introduction that our belief system is that Hashem created the world and recreates it every single day, really, in actuality.
Really? I
Yeah.
never heard that.
Yes, every day the world is recreated. The sun comes up, you know, a person wakes up in the morning and his whole body functions. It's like a sort of
rebirth.
recreation all the time. Our belief system tells us that Hashem runs the world, which means he runs every single minute second of it. And we have this constant awareness of Hashem's presence and Hashem's management of our world and ourselves and all the things that happen in our world. So Shidduchim is also one of those things where we believe that Hashem has the management of it, right? Meaning, so let our children become marriageable age. Let's talk about me. I became marriageable age, and my parents decided that
What age was marriageable
no,
age?
18. Shmoyne Esra Lechipa.
18.
That's
which
what it
means
says in the Mishnah. Shmoyne Esra Lechipa.
Which means at 18 you should be ready for the wedding canopy.
Yeah, exactly. So they were going to, now we segregate our sexes. The girls and the boys do not mingle unless they're cousins, family. There's mingling, you know, there's like talking. But also as they get older, the boys and the girls, even in families, sort of, the boys will stay with the boys, the girls will stay with the girls. I mean, there's some kind of, you know,
They go to separate schools.
they go to, we're talking about real family occasions now, you know, when the family gets together in the home. So we're constantly aware of the boys belong on the boys' side, the girls belong on the girls' side. Now we come to marriage. Now we have to get together, right?
No.
But really, truly, we're really unprepared. How do we do this? We have no skills. We don't know how to do this. Now we raise our children in such a way that our children respect the parents. They respect the way that they respect their parents, period. And they trust the parents. Okay, now even though by 18 I was a big knacker and I thought I knew everything.
What's a knacker?
A big macher, you know, it was
A personality.
not a personality, but I thought that I, you know, like,
You thought you were already all grown up.
I thought I was already, but I knew that I still, in the issue of marriage, I have to trust my parents. I'm not going to, there's no way for me to go out and find a husband. There's no way for the boys to find a wife on their own. So we trust our parents. And the parents needed somebody to facilitate this. So there is a matchmaker. And a matchmaker in our community is a respected person. Right?
It's a profession that anyone could have, essentially.
It's a profession that anyone can have, but we know who the real professionals are.
I see.
And it could be a man or it could be a woman. So when anybody gets to the age of 18, the matchmakers know who the candidates are now. So they have a list. And because our community is so intertwined, everybody knows more or less about everybody else, you know? Unless you're doing an overseas shidduch, which happens also from a different country.
A shidduch is a match.
A shidduch is a match, right? Let's talk about the local ones. So my parents, the matchmakers call the parents. I know you have a very fine daughter, and I'm thinking of a very fine boy. And they'll also ask, what things are you looking for? And then they'll suggest, let's say, a boy was suggested to me. Now, the next job is for parents to try to ask around in the community, what kind of a boy is this? They'll ask the other boys who went with him to yeshiva. Tell me, you know so-and-so, you went with him to yeshiva. What kind of a boy is he? What sort of a boy is he? They'll ask the people who daven with him in Besmedrish, in shul. Do you ever watch this boy? You ever see this boy? You know anything about the boy? They'll call the neighbors of this family. What kind of a family is it? And so there's a lot of collecting of information, which doesn't take too long, and it's not like the parents have this responsibility. Oh boy, I better get the right information, because in the back of our minds, we know Hashem runs the world. Mm-hmm. And he has our back. Okay? In the common vernacular. So we take the job seriously, but in the back of our minds, we know we're being led. And we also have a tradition that 40 days before conception of a child, before the child is even conceived, before the child is conceived, 40 days before, a heavenly voice says, Bas Ploini le Ploini, the daughter of this person to this person. So we know that it's really been arranged.
It's been arranged before
conception. It's already
conception.
been arranged. We're there to do our, what we call hishtadlus, which is our effort. Our effort, the Almighty requires us to put in effort. So this is the effort we're putting in, and my parents got enough information, and then they said they want to go see the boy. They want to see him. In those days, don't forget, there were no pictures there's no media, there's no...
How long is it usually from when you get the matchmaker's call until you go see the boy?
About a week, 10 days, depending on how much you can reach people that you want to reach. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my parents said, we want to see the boy. Meanwhile, they're telling me what's going on, you know? We got such information, we got this information, we like it, we think it's nice, the family is nice. These people that we spoke to, we called this Rebbitzin, whatever. My parents went to see the boy, not me. Not I went along with them. They went to see the boy unofficially. Unofficially means they still have a right to back out if they don't like what they're seeing.
So how is the unofficial
So I went to see him in the Shatchans, had a Svurim store. They went to see him in the back of the Svurim store.
Did he know he was being looked at?
Of course he knew. He came from Borough Park. He was living in Borough Park, where I was living in Williamsburg. So he knew he was coming to be seen. Okay? And I'm waiting at home. I'm so excited. What are they going to come back and say, you know? And then my parents come back and they say, we liked what we saw.
Did they talk to him also?
Yeah. We liked what we saw. And my mother tells me he's very, very tall.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he very tall, your husband?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
At this age, we're almost even. At that point, he was 6'2" and I was 5'2".
Really?
There was a foot difference, yes. So I liked the idea.
You like the
I
idea
wanted
of
a tall
man.
husband. Don't ask me why. Okay, we liked him, and now they want to see you. Okay, so the parents came, and this was already more official. They came to our house, both of my in-laws, my potential in-laws came, and we sat and we talked at the table, and they went home, and they said, okay, it's time for the boy and girl to meet. Right? And usually the boy and girl meet in the girl's house. So they arrived with this boy, my husband, and we all sat at the same table, and after about 5-10 minutes, the parents said, okay, we're going into another room, and we are leaving you to talk to each other.
What were you wearing? You don't remember?
It wasn't important.
No?
No, it wasn't important. So we sit down, we look at each other, and it's customary for the boy to start. You know, there's all kind of nuances over here.
I'm familiar.
So it's customary for the boy to start talking. So he starts talking. I don't remember what he said, and I'm answering him. And then at one point I tell him, now I grew up in Satmar. And at that time, the Rebbe, Satmar Rebbe, was very vocal about Zionism.
Here, I want to pause for a moment to explain what anti-Zionism is in the context of the Hasidic movement. The Hasidic movement is a movement of sects, groups, each with its own Rebbe, its own leader, who usually inherits the leadership from his father and will pass it on to son. The Satmar Hasidic sect is one of the most powerful and most important post-Holocaust groups, and its very first Rebbe, Yoel Teitelbaum, survived the Holocaust and came to America, where he was one of the most important figures in revitalizing the Hasidic movement after the war. The Satmar sect, and in particular Yoel Teitelbaum, are very well known for its anti-Zionism. The anti-Zionism of the Satmar Rebbe was rooted in a belief that the Jews should not return to the land as a sovereign, self-governed people before the time, meaning before the Messiah came. And this comes from the decree by God, one of the 3 oaths that God swore upon the Jewish people to not return to the land before the time. And while the Satmar sect remains anti-Zionist, I think the anti-Zionism of the early days during the formation of the State of Israel had a distinct fervor behind it that reflected the energy of the issue at the time.
Also, it had been just after the Kastner trial.
So he was vocal about Zionism, meaning he rejected the Zionist creed.
He rejected the Zionist philosophy. So what did I do? The first thing I tell him is, I want you to know I'm a very big anti-Zionist. Okay? This was 18-and-a-half-year-old me.
that was your
talking to
opening.
19-and-a-half-year-old boy, a very, very diplomatic opening. But I was so passionate about this.
Really?
That I wanted him to know from the get-go, because he didn't learn in a Hasidic yeshiva like Satmar.
He wasn't Satmar.
I wanted him to, he was Satmar, but he didn't learn in a Hasidic yeshiva like Satmar. He learned in a Borough Park yeshiva that was more Oberland. How do you say Oberland? It was a little different than Mil Satmar Hasidus. So I wanted him to know, so he tells me too.
Really?
Me too. He says, me too. Boy, a match made in heaven.
That was what you bonded over.
We didn't really bond over that, but I really wanted him to know that this was very, very important to me, and I didn't want to have a marriage where we would have fights over this.
How is it even so relevant to you? You're in New York.
But you don't understand what Satmar means.
I understand.
You don't understand that Satmar Rebbe talked constantly about it, and he cried constantly about it. You know what he said?
Huh?
I'll say it to you in Yiddish, and you'll translate it in English. Wer weiß, wie viel Zures sie wollen bringen auf Klal Yisroel? It was very personal.
Yeah.
Who knows how many problems that will bring on the Jewish people.
So what happened?
Okay, so we had one meeting. Then he went home. Now everybody goes home, and the parents say, well, did you like him? Did you like her? I said, yeah, I want to meet him again. And he said the same thing.
Was it the first meeting you had with a boy?
No, it was the second meeting I had with a boy.
You had a different
Yes.
meeting, you didn't like it? No?
It was terrible.
He was a Zionist.
No.
No, it was something else.
No, it was a Hasidic boy, no.
Yeah.
So we had another meeting, the second meeting. A second meeting, we were like more happy with each other. I was like pretty excited about him, and he was excited about me. You know, you're young, you're teenagers, you're 18, and of course you look at each other. Does this person appeal to me physically? It's not just the minds, but what we're really focusing on is more of an intellectual meeting of do we see a little bit, do we understand each other in the talk, yes? We're not focused on the purely physical, but it's there.
How are you aware of it if you're not aware of the physical element of marriage?
Who says we're not aware of the physical element of marriage?
A lot of people are not aware.
You think we're dummies? I mean, even if you're not aware, Hashem created you with feelings, with hormones, active hormones by 18.
I think my experience was, I wasn't naive. But we are both mavericks in our own way.
No, we're not. Everybody, my children weren't mavericks.
No?
My grandchildren are not mavericks. These children are growing up with the knowledge that the goal is marriage. The goal is to have a Yiddish family. The goal is to have children. So, I mean, at some point, even without sex education in the schools, these kids find out what's going on. Of course, nobody's talking about it.
Or the kids talk to each other.
Oh, they talk to each other all the time. But they're embarrassed to talk to the parents.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so we're not that dumb. And we're not that backwards. And we're not that out of touch. And we are more in touch, as a matter of fact, because the Torah is real. To us, the Hashem, this is divine. The word of Hashem is alive. It's not a book that was written. It was the actual. We were there at Sinai.
How is that related to
what I'm trying to
attraction?
So I'm trying to tell you is that the Torah talks about such things. The Torah is about real human life. And when the Eibishter gave us the Torah, he said, "V'chai bohem," live with it. It was meant for people to live with. It doesn't mean that we pretend hormones don't exist, boy-girl attraction doesn't exist. It means it's there because Hashem put it into us. This is the way it was meant to be. Everything that happens to us human beings is part of Hashem's world.
Including attraction and
yes. The first mitzvah is multiply. The first mitzvah in the Torah
is piruvah.
Yeah, multiply, populate the world. So it's part of our growing up. We know where we came from. We know what we're doing in this world. We know where we're going. We know we have a plan and a purpose. Do you know how peaceful life is when you know?
Yeah.
When you know what, and we're committed to this. It's not like a fairy tale. We are actually committed to all of this, and we raise our children with this commitment, with the knowledge of this commitment.
One of the additional steps of Hasidic matchmaking, which we didn't cover here, but which is a very important part of the process, is genetic counseling, which every Hasidic boy and girl will receive through an enormous organization called Dar Yeshurim. Pearl didn't receive genetic counseling because it wasn't available yet at the time, but when we talked about it afterwards, she talked about the marvel of science that the community is able to take advantage of, and how the specific system of matchmaking allows for genetic testing before the couple falls in love and becomes attached to each other, allowing for an easy exit if the genetics don't match up.
Okay, so fine. Now we're up to the third B'sho.
Well, the third B'sho is a third meeting. A B'sho is a meeting.
The B'sho is a meeting, right?
So you knew you were attracted to your husband.
Yes.
And it was something you were. I mean, look, is he behind the person, right? Is he?
Is he physically? Am I okay with him physically?
I see.
Also, besides the fact that I like talking to him, and we share a lot of, we discuss other things. Where do you work, and what are you doing, and who is your family, and things of common.
Is it awkward?
It could be, but if you're hitting it off right, it becomes fun.
Did he see your fun side early on?
No. I was hiding. No, I wasn't so much fun then, okay?
No, you become more fun with time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So now we're having 2 meetings, and nobody's rushing into anything. In the morning, my mother asks me, so, you like him? I said, yeah. So you want to go ahead with the shidduch? Like you want to get engaged to him? I think so. I wasn't madly in love with him, but I took into account that my parents actually brought him to the house, which means that they liked him. They liked what they saw, they liked what they heard. Now it's up to me, the big decision. Do I know 100%? Am I head over heels? No. Do I see myself getting married to this person? I think so. I think so, yeah. Okay, so should we make an engagement?
That night?
Not that night, no. Yeah. Okay. The third meeting included the engagement.
Also at your mother's house?
Yes, at my parents' house. And so you make this engagement, you make a l'chaim between the parents, you call over some friends, I was the oldest. So, and in those days our families were very small, it was just 20 years after the Holocaust. So there was very little family to call over, but some family came over. I mean, today it's tremendous affairs, you know.
Yeah, the engagement part.
So now the same thing happened when my oldest daughter was ready to get engaged. She had the same attitude. She trusted her parents. So we went to see one boy, we went to see another boy. Then we went to see, then the shadchan called us and told us about my first son-in-law. My husband and I went to see him. I don't even think they came to see my daughter. I don't remember. And then the kids saw each other. And again, the same question, do you like him? Yeah, I think I like him. Should we make an engagement? Yeah, I think we should make an engagement.
You never know for sure. I mean,
How could you know for sure?
yeah.
How could you know for sure?
But what's your criteria of judging your children's appropriate match? It seems to me nerve-wracking for a parent to make decisions for their children.
We're not the big decision makers.
That's the key
We're
to
not
everything
the
here. There's
big-
a faith system.
What do you call faith?
You believe that there's someone bigger than you doing things.
That's the wrong definition for faith.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
What you call faith, we call faithfulness. Faithfulness to the idea that Hashem runs the world. It's a faithfulness to a philosophy. We know that Hashem runs the world. There's no doubt in our minds.
Uh-huh.
So we are faithful to this idea. So we believe the same thing when it comes to shidduchim, and when it comes to buying a coat, and when it comes to buying furniture,
A house.
a house, whatever you want. We believe that really Hashem, He's running the world, and we are part of His plan in running the world. The only place where we are boss, where we have complete autonomy, and where we are the decision makers and the deciders, is in the moral realm.
Otherwise, everything is
Basher.
bashert, meant from above.
Yes, but we have to do our effort. We have to put in our effort. I have to go to the store to buy a coat. I have to talk to an agent when I buy a house. You have to go through the steps. It doesn't take away from you going through the certain steps. But in the back of our minds, we'll see whatever Hashem wants.
There's
It's
a
going to
higher.
happen.
There's a higher power making the.
You know what it does? It gives a person peace of mind. Now, when it comes to our own decision in the moral realm, do I want to help my neighbor? Hashem stays out of this. This is solely up to the human being. Do I want to give charity?
That's
Hashem stays out of this. He lets us be the total deciders. Do I want to speak bad about this person? Hashem stays completely out of it. This is completely and totally in our control. So sometimes when you say, what is a person? What is a person if Hashem is deciding everything? You
Well-
know how powerful a person is? If he decides to be good or bad, that's his whole power.
Yeah, the power is in making the moral decisions.
That's the power. And that is what makes a person a person. Riches, wealth doesn't make the person a person.
I hear that.
It's what he does with his wealth, what he decides to do with his wealth in the moral realm that decides what kind of a person this is.
The place where I am stuck with this is if I was a parent, so I have a 17-year-old, if I was a parent now thinking of making decisions for a shidduch, I think I would never be able to say, oh yeah, there's a voice that declared 40 days before conception. That I don't think I could ever surrender to that kind of, not that I don't.
You and the rest of the world, darling. You have to be raised from, you have to have it in your DNA. You have to, you have to be consciously aware of it all the time.
I appreciate what you're
You know
saying.
something I want to
I
ask
was
you
raised
something.
though, you know, Pearl, I was raised in it.
Yes, you were.
It didn't register on my DNA though.
Okay. Suppose you swallowed poison,
Uh-huh.
okay?
Not good.
And then you swallowed. 2 minutes later, you decided, I made a big mistake. I don't want. Can you tell your body to expel that poison? I'm trying to tell you, you're not boss.
I see.
You're not boss. You're not even boss over your own body, which you say, my hand, my foot, right? My digestive system. You're not even boss over it. You can't expel that poison once you swallowed it and it's in your system. So who's boss? What are you boss over? What are you boss over? Whether you're going to do good or do bad, that's the only thing you're boss over. That's the only thing
Your
that's in your
action.
control.
Yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying. These are big philosophical questions of how much control do we have. I don't want to get sidetracked.
Go ahead.
Yes.
So we're talking about arranged marriages.
Non-arranged marriages.
Not arranged.
Not arranged.
My children said yes. Yes, we want to get engaged. Okay. Mazel tov, there's an engagement. Baruch Hashem, they're married. Baruch Hashem, they're very happily married. Same thing with my grandchildren. Same story repeats itself.
When I talked to Pearl after our conversation, she emphasized that it was very important to clarify that there is a choice for the young, eligible man or woman, boy or girl, before the match is finalized. And while typically the young kids are very excited for the match to happen and can't wait to say yes, there are instances when they don't want the match to go ahead, and she wanted to be very clear that no is an acceptable answer as well before the match is finalized.
Is it nerve-wracking as a parent?
Only if you think that you're in charge.
Uh-huh.
If you think, oh my goodness, I have to make these decisions for my children. I can't do this. Of course you can't. Of course you can. Who makes a decision that affects a child's entire life? It's too big for you. It's too much for you, you know.
Were you ever a matchmaker?
Oh, I tried so many times and never succeeded.
No, never.
Never.
Never?
I want to make one mission
Yeah.
shidduch in my life.
Okay, well, we'll have to work with you, bring you lists of eligible.
Everybody tries. Everybody tries.
How much do you get paid if you succeed?
The going rate.
The going rate
The going
keeps
rate.
changing. What's the
Yeah.
going rate?
Today, I think it's a 1,500. I'm not even sure because I'm out of the business, you know.
Uh-huh.
I'm not marrying children anymore. My grandchildren are not my.
It's not your bill to pay, but it's only you only pay the matchmaker if the match is finalized.
Yes, and they complained about that because they complained that they do a lot of hard work before a match is finalized, and nobody pays them for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of work going into matchmaking for which they get no compensation for.
But there's like I look at these pamphlets where they advertise the matches every week. There's like 10 matches a week, or I don't know, is it daily or weekly?
You know how many children are out there?
Waiting for matches?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Matchmakers must be very busy.
Now you have to understand that the children alone are going into this not 100% positive. They also trust Hashem. Right? They trust the parent, they trust Hashem. They're also going in with the same attitude, and you hope for the best and you pray for the best. Because you see people who go out together for 2 years or 3 years, and then they get married, and 50% of marriages end in divorce in the United States. Now don't tell me that they had their parents as matchmakers,
Yeah.
right?
What do you think is the success rate of arranged marriages?
There's no arrangement.
Of non-arranged marriage. So
No
sorry,
arranged
Pearl.
marriages.
What is the success rate of
Only the meetings are
arranged
arranged. Hashem
meetings.
arranges the marriages.
Okay, I'm gonna say shidduch marriages because it's matchmakers with a it's matches with a matchmaker.
Okay,
Can
so
I say shidduch
Okay, what's the
matches?
question?
What's the success rate? Do you think?
I would say it's about 90 to 95%.
What's with the 5%? Divorce?
That's fine.
And what are their stories? Are they unhappily married?
Yes, of course.
They're not getting divorced.
They're not getting divorced for frivolous reasons. Most of the time, they're not getting divorced for frivolous reasons. It's serious. Marriage is serious by us. Marriage is taken very, very seriously. It's not like we're going into this marriage and we don't understand what it means. We're committed to this. We're committed to building a family from this marriage. So marriage is, even though our children are teenagers, it's a commitment that they understand.
Pearl, how long have you been married?
56 years.
56 years?
And I have to tell you that my husband was the main giver.
Really?
Yes, it wasn't like a 50-50 giving. I could say that he gave probably 75% and I gave 25%.
I am sure you both gave.
No, I'm serious. It's not always 50-50. In some marriages, one partner gives more.
Yeah.
But I got to the stage where I now learned to appreciate what a giver he was and is. So it motivates me to give back more than I did when I was younger. I'm not talking, this is an old marriage, Baruch Hashem, you know, so
Yeah.
we understand each other. But I'm talking about when I was younger, he was a 75% giver.
What do you mean by giving? What does giving mean?
Giving-
It doesn't mean giving presents.
No. He was so nice to me.
Yeah.
He was complimentary. He was kind, you know, he was plain kind to me. And if you ask me what the secret of a good marriage is, treat each other like you're strangers. I would be kind to a stranger.
Yeah.
I would be nice to a stranger. Sometimes I'm so angry I wasn't nice to him, right? Especially with my hormones. Okay, we have a good excuse.
Yeah,
We
women.
have a good excuse. So, but kindness and a sense of humor
Those are the tricks to
in my marriage.
your husband is a very sweet person.
He's a very nice person.
He's a very nice person. You were very lucky. And you
Extremely lucky, and I appreciate it, and I thank Hashem for it every day.
yeah.
And my parents thanked Hashem because they thought nobody would be able to live with me.
Do you think the key to a I don't know. I guess my question is, what happens to a Hasidic woman whose husband isn't so good to her?
Some women can take it. They learn to adapt. They learn to adjust, and they're nicer. They are the givers. They do the bigger part of the giving. Now, we're not talking about abusive people,
Yeah,
which exists. We're not talking about them. They are the reason. They are a good reason for divorce in a marriage where there's already children. This is not frivolous marriages when a young couple divorces right after marriage, you know, because of frivolous reasons. I'm talking about sometimes in a marriage when you already end up having a few children and you find out that the man that you're married to, or sometimes in rare cases the woman that you're married to, is abusive. So the Torah allows divorce. Okay? So
abuse includes emotional abuse, like a schlechte person, a
any kind
mean
of
person.
abuse, any kind of abuse, physical, emotional, any kind of abuse. Abuse is abuse. I mean, it's not. You don't say somebody is abusive when they want kiggle.
Yeah. It depends. Maybe they want kiggle at 2 a.m. They're waking their spouse.
That's abuse.
So what happens if here's sometimes a problem. Then we're going to stop talking about if that's okay.
Yeah,
arranged
go ahead.
marriage.
Yeah.
What happens if a woman is in an abusive marriage and there is so much pressure in her society to succeed in the marriage that she doesn't want to get out of it?
There is no pressure in society, in our society, to succeed in a marriage that is harmful to either partner. There's no pressure.
You don't think women stay in marriages because of shame and social stigma? No.
No, they'll stay in a marriage like that for the sake of the children, very often. Sometimes they are so abused that they don't see themselves as worthy of anything better. They become damaged from the abuse. Shame and stigma, I don't know. I can imagine that it must be a factor in some, but I don't know anybody like that. Shame and stigma keeping people in a marriage because es passt nicht.
So you think most people's engagements, the arranged marriages of Hasidic communities.
Did you say arranged?
No, sorry, I'm going to restart that. The match made.
Matchmaker marriage.
Pearl.
The matchmaker. Why are your hands cold?
My hands are always cold.
The matchmaker marriages. Let's call them the matchmaker marriages.
The matchmaker marriages. You think most people would agree with you in the community that it is a very joyous experience, because in secular media it is portrayed as divorcing all mating from the excitement and the romance and turning it into some kind of necessary contract.
How would they know?
There are people who
told them this?
who left, who tell the stories.
I don't know. I people who leave, okay, are definitely not going to be are not going to be good representatives for this way of life.
I should tell you, I left, and I will tell you, my arranged marriage, I had one meeting, and it was on the spot. My parents were like, no, it wasn't this. I know that there are people who take the time, but I think people have different experiences also, right?
True, yes.
Did I say arranged marriage again?
Yeah, but maybe yours was arranged.
Maybe mine's.
I hear what you're saying, and it happens. It happens, but again, the responsibility is not felt so great by the parents, because they always feel that this was bashet. This was meant to be. Whether I was the facilitator of this marriage as a parent or not, this would have needed to happen anyhow. So there isn't that. Of course, somebody who leaves cannot see it this way because they don't believe.
Yeah.
They stop believing. So they're not good advertisers for our way of life.
Yeah.
They don't represent the positive.
So what are you doing tonight for the last night of Hanukkah?
Spending it with my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend? Who's your boyfriend? Your boyfriend?
Who's my boyfriend?
A 50 something.
Yes.
What's the trick to keeping things interesting with your boyfriend?
Taharas HaMishpacha.
What's Taharas HaMishpacha?
The laws of family purity.
Let me pause to briefly explain Taharas HaMishpacha. Taharas HaMishpacha are the laws of family purity that stipulate that a couple must remain entirely apart with no physical contact during the time that a woman has her period and for 7 days after her period stops. She can be reunited with her husband after she goes to a special pool of water called a mikveh.
And it has nothing to do with Hasidim, it has to do with Jewish life. Torah Jewish life.
All Torah Jews.
All Torah Jews, yes. It's our secret to success. It keeps a marriage so exciting, so alive, even into old age. It's very difficult when you're young.
Because for 2 weeks, you're not allowed to have any physical
12
contact.
days. 12 days.
12 days, approximately.
Sometimes it morphs into 2 weeks, depending. But it's really 12 days.
So you have no physical contact.
No physical contact means that you now relate to each other on a non-physical level. Okay? Which means we're not just objects of desire all the time. We are people whose minds are now engaged with our spouse. Right? Mm-hmm. The physicality is put on the side. It also creates a tremendous physical appetite.
Yeah.
For when it's permissible.
It's a tease.
tremendous, and it's very difficult. It's not easy when you're young.
Yeah.
But every time you get together again, it's like a honeymoon.
If you love each other.
Of course. We're not talking about dysfunctional marriages. We're not talking about abusive marriages over here.
Yeah.
We're talking about two normal people who like each other, okay? And who find themselves physically attracted to each other, and young people mostly are. And this is a way of life for so many years that by the time it's not relevant anymore, you have built up a kind of a relationship with your husband that's, I don't know how to explain it. There's excitement in it.
Yeah.
You don't get jaded
Because you have that.
because you have that kind of a relationship built up. Let's say we get married, let's say by 1920, and it lasts about till, let's say, person is, let's say, 45, so that's about 25 years, 26, 27 years.
And then there's no more Taarsamsprache.
Then it's not necessary anymore because there's no more cycle.
Yeah.
So, but you have now a relationship with this person whom you got to know when you were young, and this is the name of the relationship. This is how it works with this person. So, do you know what only Hashem could have created something like this. Only Hashem could have told us, do this, and you will have the greatest marriage in the world. It keeps a marriage exciting.
It keeps it.
It keeps it alive. It keeps it young. It keeps it. The word is exciting.
Yeah.
Like you still get excited about your spouse.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Does it make sense?
No,
You understand?
I've heard that before. It's
Okay.
interesting to hear. It's interesting to hear. But of course, it ends at some point. You know, it ends, as you said, at
We
45.
all end at some point.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching part 1 of my conversation with Pearl, and I thank Pearl so much for the good time and the great cheesecake, and for opening her world up to us. I hope that all of you will stick around for part 2, where we will be talking about some really big topics, the custom that married women shave their heads, and we'll also talk about OTD, those who leave the faith, which is another topic that, of course, touches me very personally. I hope you'll stick around, and also I encourage you to leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Bye-bye.